Shalom, everybody. Welcome to this week's journey through Torah. This week we are in Parshat Tetzaveh. Tetzaveh, we're kind of interrupting the building of the Mishkan to give one important detail that the people need to know before they continue building. You know, a lot of the reasons we go through the scripture and we try to find the reasons why we're doing what we're doing, and we're not always given the answer for why we are doing what we're doing. But Yahweh's wisdom is higher than ours, but that doesn't mean that we can't understand some things that he gives us. And I think this one is a good one. Okay. Here he says, tell the people to build a sanctuary, I can dwell among them, all these things, this has all been going well, but we're about to see something that Yahweh commanded the people of Israel. And I think it's important, not just to having the Mishkan in their area, in their camp. We've already talked about the idea is that the Yahweh dwells within us, and he's showing us in the tabernacle his plan for that. But he's also asking us to do something so that we keep the function of the tabernacle moving. Okay. And this is important because one of the things we often do is, it's all Yahweh, which it is, it's all him. But yet it doesn't mean that he does not ask us to have any role to play in what he's doing in our communities, in our hearts, in our lives. He wants us to be involved in what he's asking us to do. Yes, he will do it, but we have to be there. We have to make the commitment to follow him and to be where he is. And there's some things he asks for us along the way. This is not a matter of, are you redeemed or justification, anything like that. This is a matter of, are we going to follow him? Are we going to do what he asked us to do? So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, and we're obviously going to point scriptures towards Yeshua, and we're going to see how these things relate. And if you're following along, you might get there pretty quick before I do. But that's good. That's fine. Please do so. And as you go through this study, I hope that it is challenging and encouraging to you as well. Okay? So we're going to start off with Tetzaveh, and you shall command. And who is being commanded? Well, it's the people of Israel are being commanded. And what are they being commanded to do? All right, so let's look at it. Exodus 27, verses 20 and 21. It says, also you were to command Bnei Israel that they are to bring to you pure olive oil, beaten for the light, to cause the lamp to burn continually in the tent of meeting, outside the curtain which is before the testimony. Aaron and his sons will set it in order to burn from evening till morning before Adonai. It will be a statute forever throughout their generations on behalf of Bnei Israel. So the people of Israel were asked to bring the oil for the light. The oil for, you may think about it this way. You are commanded to bring the oil for your lamp. Oh, wait a minute. Now, if we put it that way, it kind of opens up new ideas, doesn't it? And that's what we're going to examine today. Okay, we're going to start off in Matthew 25. We're going to talk about the parable of the 10 virgins, 5 wise, 5 foolish. What was the difference between the two, and what that means for us today as well. All right. So Matthew 25, verses 1 through 13, we are going to read that. It says, in the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. For when the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them. But the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps. As the bridegroom was delayed, they all became drowsy and slept. And verse 6, but about midnight there was a cry, here is the bridegroom, come out to meet him. And all those virgins rose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out. But the wise answered, saying, since there will not be enough for us and for you to gather for the dealers, go and buy for yourself. Verse 10, and while they were going to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went with him to the marriage feast, and the door was shut. Afterward, the other virgins came also, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered, truly I say to you, I do not know you. Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour. So important things we see here, and we're not fully going down this road here today, but 5 wise, 5 foolish, right? So something to pay attention to as well is they were all asleep, all of them. But when the time came, the 5 rose, and they got their lamps, and they trimmed it, they got the fire, they put the oil, they made sure they had everything they needed. The thing is, they all had lamps, so that's kind of insinuating they all had lamps, they all had fire for the lamps, but only 5 made sure that they had enough oil for what lie ahead of them. And so this poses the question, how do we get the oil? What was the oil used for? What's our role in that? How do we do that? And what does that mean for us today? All right, so the oil was brought by all of Israel. We read in Psalm 52:8, it says, but I am like a green olive tree in the house of Elohim. I have trusted in the kindness of Elohim forever and ever. Jeremiah 11:16 says, Yahweh has named you green olive tree, fair of goodly fruit. So we find that the olive tree represents Yahweh's people. Okay, so how do you get the oil from the olive tree? You take the fruit, and then the olive is pressed to get the oil out. There's a lot of midrash out there as far as how that was done, but ideally, it's the pure oil that comes from the olive, the first press before it starts to fall apart and crumble, and you just have to filter it. The finest oil was brought for the light, and that light was to be lit to shine in the holy place, to shine before Yahweh, to shine in His presence. So if that oil, if the olive doesn't start to give some oil, they have to go through a process to extract the oil. In other words, it's beaten, it's pressed, it's crushed, then it's filtered. And understanding, of course, the oil for the light and the oil for anointing is a representation of our submission to Yahweh at all costs. And this is the oil that Yahweh will light. Whatever it is in our life, the idea here, I must decrease, He must increase. We lay our lives down. We surrender our lives to Him. And there's a pressing in that, getting rid of the flesh, if you will, getting rid of those things that keep that oil from coming out. In other words, we need to submit to Yahweh no matter what the cost. You may have heard in 2 Corinthians 4:8-11, it says, we have all kinds of troubles. We are not crushed. We are perplexed, yet not in despair. Persecuted, not abandoned. Knocked down, yet not destroyed. We always carry in our bodies the dying of Yeshua, so that the life of Yeshua may be manifested in our bodies too. For we who are alive are always being handed over to death for Yeshua's sake, so that Yeshua's life also might be manifest in our mortal bodies. So, how often does this happen? Well, in life, you have trials, you have tribulations. Life gets hard, but it's in that process, do we turn to Yahweh? When we turn to Him in prayer, in praise, in worship, in study, when we're turning our lives to Him, that's when that oil comes out. And guess what, guys? Yahweh says that is the oil that is going to be lit to be in His presence, right? Further, the Menorah in the holy place, how often did that oil get changed? Guess what, guys? It got changed every day. Every day, Aaron, the high priest, he was to go in and clean the cups, clean them out, trim the wicks, put new oil in, put the new wicks in, and get the new fire going. Okay, and he would do this, and he would do it in such a way that where none of the lamps were, not all of the lamps were extinguished at the same time. So he would do this in a way where it was still burning, but yet he was still getting new oil, fresh oil in that, and we can learn from that as well. How often do you need an oil change? Guess what? Every day. We need to come before the Father every day, and however we do, praise, prayer, worship, adoration, just acknowledging Him in all of our ways, praying throughout the day, making these connections with Yahweh. That's the idea of coming before Him daily to trim the wicks and to have that new oil. In Exodus 30, verse 7 and 8, it said that Aaron must burn sweet spices of incense every morning when he attends to the lamps. He is to burn it. And also when Aaron keeps the lamps lit at dusk, he must burn it. And there must be incense continually before Adonai throughout your generations. So this altar of incense was being used at the same time he was tending the lamps on the menorah. At the same time he was tending the oil and the fire and the flame, there was also the incense going up there too, which is representative of prayer as well. And we see this also in Leviticus 24, verses 1-4. It said, Adonai spoke to Moshe, saying, Order Bnei Israel, you are to bring pure olive oil beaten for the light to keep a lamp burning continually outside of the curtain of the testimony in the tent of meeting. Aaron is to keep it in order from evening to morning before Adonai continually. It is to be a statute forever throughout your generations. And he is to keep the lamps in order on the pure gold menorah before Adonai continually. And of course, understanding as well that this menorah that was a representation of Yeshua lighting the way into the presence of Yahweh. When the lamps were lit, it was lit that they all faced the face. They all faced to the front. They all faced this way, saying, as you come, you approach with the light, and that light is to lead you and to guide you into the most holy place, which is what Yahweh desires for you, that He dwells in the very core of you. He dwells within your hearts. That is where His word is written. That's where His life is given to you. That's where His Spirit will dwell within you, and we are to live according to those ways. We're to walk in that light. We know that it says that the Torah as well, it's a lamp to my feet, a light to my path, right? We're to walk in that light. 2 Samuel 22:29 says, you are my lamp, Adonai. Adonai shines in my darkness. So he says Yahweh is our lamp, right? He is the one that provides the light for the path for us. He is the one that shows us the way. But also there's more in there. Yahweh is our lamp. Again, just kind of the idea of that the menorah is a representation of Yeshua. All right. Psalm 27:1 says, Adonai is my light and my salvation. He is my light and my Yeshua. Whom should I fear? Adonai is a stronghold of my life. Of whom should I dread? In the menorah, the second or the center column is called the Shamash. That is the one that all the other branches come off of. So we have the center, and then we have the branches coming off from that. Kind of reminds me of when Yeshua said, I am the vine, you are the branches, kind of a thing. Without him, we're nothing. This is what feeds the source of life to us, right? So it's not like the oil flows through it to get, no, but this is the one where they all come back and are held together in the center. So in that essence, the center, the Shamash, is what feeds the rest. Consider Matthew 12:18, where it says, here's my servant. The word servant is also Shamash. Here's my servant whom I chose, the one I love, in whom my soul takes delight. I will put my Ruach upon him, and he shall proclaim justice to the nations. So Eved is a word for servant, but Shamash is also the word for servant, which we also see in Malachi 4:2, where it says, but to you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in its wings, and will break forth out leaping like calves released from the stall. This word for son, Shamash, is spelled exactly like servant. Shemish and Shamash, it's the same word, different vowel markings. Okay, so the idea here is he saying the Son of Righteousness, or is he saying the servant of righteousness? Things to consider. He is the light, but he is the servant of righteousness with healing in his wings. What was on the corners or the edges of his garment, guys? The tzitziot, which represent walking with Yahweh. According to Numbers chapter 15, he says that you wear the tzitziot on the edge of your garment, so to remind you that you keep the word of Yahweh. You don't go following your own ways, doing your own things, but you walk with him, right? So this is why the woman with the issue of blood went to touch the hem of his garment, because there was healing in his wings. The word wing, kanaf, means edge, border, or extremity. Down at the edge of his garments, there was healing and life, but it represents touching the word. The word is life. The word is healing. And the word brings restoration to us, and is all a picture of Yeshua. Further, the menorah represents his light and his presence and his spirit, which again, Yeshua, right? In Revelation chapter 4, verses 4 and 5, we read, around the throne were 24 thrones, and seated on the thrones were 24 elders, dressed in white clothes, with golden crowns on their heads. And out from the throne came flashes of lightning and rumblings and clashes of thunder, and 7 torches of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God. Interesting, because how many branches does menorah have? 7, right? So there's 7 branches, so there's 7 flames. And this is representing the 7 spirits of God, the 7 spirits of Elohim that will reside on Yeshua. We see this according to Isaiah 11, verses 1 and 2, where it says, then a shoot will come forth out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch will bear his fruit out of his roots. Look at the 7-fold spirits. The Ruach of Adonai, the spirit of Adonai will rest upon him. The spirit of wisdom, insight, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge, and the fear of Adonai. So we have pictures here, all pointing to Yeshua as the light that was given for the world, which brings us to another point. That the menorah in traditional literature is given as it is the light of the world. Now, this also speaks of the entire Beit HaMikdash, the entire house, right? The entire temple tabernacle. But at the core of the very center of that was the menorah, which is the only light that was there in the holy place. We read in the commentary, it says the Beit HaMikdash is referred to as the light of the world. Most buildings in those days were built so that the windows would capture the light from the sun and project inside as much light as possible by being narrower on the outside than on the inside. The Beit HaMikdash lit up the world, so its windows were wider on the outside to spread out light to the world. Even though the entire Beit HaMikdash was reminiscent of light, it was more specifically the menorah that was in the Beit HaMikdash that shone this magnificent light. And further, we read in Revelation 21, verses 23 and 24, it says, the city had no need for the sun or the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God lights it up, and its lamp is the Lamb. The lamp is the Lamb. The light that holds the fire and the flame is the Lamb. Who's the Lamb? And the nations shall walk by its light, and the kings of the earth bring their glory to it. So all the earth will come to this light and bring their glory to it. Again, all coming to Yeshua, which is the light of the world, and we provide that oil that he ignites. We surrender ourselves. By surrendering ourselves, that gives the oil. And so he lights that to give his light within us. Luke 2, verses 30 to 32 says, "My eyes have seen your Yeshua. My eyes have seen your salvation, which you have prepared in the presence of all people, a light for revelation to the nations and the glory of your people Israel." In John 8:12, Yeshua said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will walk in the light of life." If we follow Yeshua, he is the light. He's the one showing us the way. He is the one who's shining the way for us to follow. And if we follow him, we are walking in the light. And further, Yeshua also said that you are the light of the world. If he said he is the light of the world, it's easy to understand. But he said you are the light of the world. What does that mean? It means if we're following him, if we're walking with him, and he lives in you, then guess what? You are supposed to be a light to those around you. You are supposed to be a light to the world. And if that's the case, guys, which it is, don't hide it. Do not hide your light. This world is in darkness, and it needs the light of Yahweh in their midst. It needs the love of Yahweh in their midst, and it needs the heart of Yahweh present. And we, as a people called by his name, need to make sure we do that. In Matthew 5:14 to 16, Yeshua said, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven." In Proverbs 20, verse 27, it says, "The spirit of man is the lamp of Adonai, searching all his inmost being." The spirit of man is the lamp of Yahweh. See that? So you are a lamp for him. So what's that fire that's burning in you? Is it holy fire? Is it strange fire? Are you trying to bring strange fire before Yahweh, or are you surrendering yourself to him so that it burns a pure flame with pure oil, right? If the oil isn't pure, you don't get a good flame. It's real smoky and causes a big mess, soot and everything all around. But a good oil, good flame, burns clean. So again, what are we presenting to him, right? Philippians 2, verses 14 and 15 says, "Do all things without grumbling or disputing, that you may be blameless and innocent, children of God without blemish in the midst of a crooked and twisted generation, among whom you shine like lights in the world." That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to shine like lights in the world, for the world, so they can see the light of Yahweh living in their midst. Isaiah 42, verses 6 and 7 says, "I, Adonai, called you in righteousness. I will take hold of your hand. I will keep you and give you as a covenant to the people, as a light to the nation." How? Verse 7, "By opening blind eyes, bringing prisoners out of the dungeon and those sitting in darkness out of the prison house." Light is to show the way, and light causes us to have a response. When the light is on, we have a job to do, right? So we have to rise up and let that light shine, not hide it away. How do we do that? Well, consider Isaiah 60, verse 1 as well. It says, "Arise and shine, for your light has come. The glory of Adonai has risen on you." And the Targum, it translates this verse this way: "Get up, shine bright, Jerusalem, for the time of your redemption has come." Think about that. If he is light and he is the light that is shining, then he is shining to redeem. He wants to bring his people to himself, and he does that by shining the way. Jewish tradition says that God is the light of the universe, yet he commands that a lamp be lighted to give back light to God. So God has led Israel by his light, and in gratitude, Israel is to give light in return. The light of the Menorah does not perish, as must even the temple, but in its continued burning symbolizes the fact that God's blessings endure forever for his children. The light of Yahweh can never be extinguished. And even though the temple is not there, the tabernacle is not there, the menorah is not there, it's not burning, but guess what? You are. And if you are a temple for Yahweh, if you are a place for his presence, then that light needs to burn, and it needs to shine the way, not to you, not to anyone else, but back to him, right? So Yahweh's blessing and light was revealed in Yeshua. Like we said, Yeshua said, "I am the light of the world," right? In Matthew 1:21, it said that she will give birth to a son, and you shall call his name Yeshua, for he will save his people from their sins. Because he saves us and redeems us, that's what the light was sent to do. Now, let's talk a little bit more about this understanding of the light and tie it in reference to Yeshua. When Yeshua said, I'm the light of the world, this wasn't just some neat idea he had just come up with. He was speaking this in a way that the people around him would have understood, right? Light, as in Menorah and Nehira, are understood as names of the Messiah. We often say, well, tell us if you're the Messiah. Yeshua's like, I've been telling you, right? You're just not listening. I've said over, the things that I've done, you've seen, but you're not listening. You're not paying attention. Well, where did he say? How did he do these things, right? One of these things is by saying he is the light. Because he is the light, he's saying, I'm the Messiah. The word Menorah, light, again, in Strackham and Billerbeck, the commentary on the New Testament, puts it this way: the Menorah dwells within him. Speaking of the Messiah, the Menorah, the light dwells in the Messiah, according to Daniel 2:22. That is, the King, the Messiah, arise, shine, your light has come. They equate the light with the Messiah. In the Midrash Lamentations 1:16, the Hira, the enlightened one, will be the Messiah's name because he is light. The Hira dwells within him. So again, he is light. Just throwing this out here just because I find it interesting, and I hope you do as well. There are some other names that are associated with the Messiah, and that was given in the Midrash, that other names associated that the Messiah would be called. Okay, the Messiah would be called according to 7 names. There are many more, but this is just a collection of 7 here. 1, Yenon, we'll cover that in a minute, according to Psalm 72:17. Yahweh, our righteousness, according to Jeremiah 23:6. Tzamach, the branch, according to Zechariah 6:12. Menachem, the comfort, according to Isaiah 31:3. He will be called David, and son of David, equates the same thing, right? Psalm 18:50. He will be called Shiloh, according to Genesis 49:10. And Eliyahu, Elijah, from Malachi 3:18. Behold, I will send you the prophet Elijah. Isn't it interesting how when the people came to him, they're like, well, people are saying you're Elijah. Why would they think something like that? Because in that same spirit of Elijah would come before the Messiah. So they would associate the spirit of Elijah with the coming of the Messiah. And again, just other things out there. So there are other names mentioned as well. The Messiah has 8 names, according to another listing. Yenon, Tzemach, Mashiach, Pele, Yoez, which is counsel, El Gibor, mighty God, Aviad, which is everlasting Father, and Sar Shalom. All of these are names that are associated with Yeshua. But I want to stop at another one here for a second. Let's go back to the name Yenon, because we're talking about names related to him. We'll kind of sidetrack this for a second, because it's very relevant, okay? Yenon in Psalm 72:17, it says, may his name endure forever, his fame continue as long as the sun. May people be blessed in him, all nations call him blessed. So this word Yenon that's given in there, it's interesting the way that it reads. It's like, okay, it doesn't really make sense. He will be called, his name will be Yenon, but what does that mean, right? We don't understand, because if you don't understand Hebrew, what does it mean? Well, Yenon is from the word nun. Nun means to resprout, right? To be perpetual, to continue. To resprout is the emphasis I'm looking at here. And the name of the Messiah, according to Psalm 72:16, says, before the sun, Yenon was his name, meaning he pre-existed the sun. According to the Midrash, and why was his name called Yenon? Because he causes those who sleep in the dust to resurrect. Atid linun. He causes those who are asleep in the dust to be resurrected. It says that the Messiah will bring resurrection. Think about that. Okay, the school of Yanai said Yenon will be the Messiah's name. His name will endure forever. Before the sun, Yenon was his name. Psalm 93:2, in older editions, the Midrash says, why is the Messiah's name called Yenon? Because he will cause those who sleep in the dust to rise from the dead, giving resurrection. So where do we see this association of Nun, meaning life, and resprouting, to resurrection? We also see this back in Numbers, in the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 10, verses 35 and 36, which is actually part of the Torah service from many, many places today. But when the Torah is brought out, before the Torah is brought out, they make this proclamation, arise, Lord, let your enemies be scattered, let those who hate you flee before you. And they do their reading as the ark is, or the Torah is returned to the ark. They say, return Adonai to the many myriads, thousands of Israel as it's being returned. Well, this is done because as the ark was to be set out, this proclamation was given, so the ark would rise, and they would make the proclamation, arise, Lord, let your enemies be scattered, let them who hate you flee before you, and they would follow the pillar in the cloud. When the ark would set, they would say, return, Lord, to the many myriads, many thousands of Israel. Interesting, because in the Torah scrolls, and you're going to see consistency from scroll to scroll to scroll with this, you're going to find the letter Nun, bookcasing these two verses in the scripture, but there's something that's a little off about them. This word Nun, they're inverted Nuns. So if I have a picture here, if you wanted to see this picture in the Torah scroll, you can see the Nun is inverted before the proclamation of these two verses. Let's go to Job. Well, I'm going to come back to that in a second. Let's go to Job 14:12-15. It says, "So man lies down and rises not, till the heavens be no more. They shall not awake, nor be raised out of their sleep. Oh, that you would hide me in the grave, that you would keep me secret until your wrath be past, that you would appoint me a set time and remember me. If a man die, shall he live again? All the days of my appointed time will I wait till my change come. You shall call, and I will answer you, and you will have a desire to the work of your hands." See that? So I die, but yet when you call, I will answer you. So I die, but yet you call, you will resurrect me. You will bring me back alive. You will bring me from the grave. In Isaiah 26:19, it says, "Your dead will live, my dead body, my corpse will rise. Awake and sing, you who dwell in the dust, for your dew is like the morning dew, and the earth will bring the ghosts to life." Other ways this can be translated as, "Your dead will live, they will rise with my body." So when I rise, they will rise. Interesting note as well is when Yeshua resurrected, it said there were the graves that were opened in Jerusalem and people came out and walked around. What happened to them? I don't know. We're not expressly specifically told, but again, we see this fulfilling in the scripture in there. So when we have this, "Rise, Lord, let your enemies be scattered, let them that hate you flee before you," and that inverted Nun, the Nun, if it means life, but the opposite of life is death. So we have this inverted Nun. So we look at this and it says death, but the Nun still means life. What we have is life from death. So he says, "Rise, Lord, let your enemies be scattered, let them that hate you flee before you." We have a picture of Messiah's resurrection. And then the next verse, "Return, Lord, to the many myriads of the many thousands, millions upon people of Israel." There's not that many of Israel. The only time there will be that many of Israel is when he gathers in all Israel at the end of the age. So guess what? In the second part, he's talking about your resurrection. He's talking about when you are resurrected. So again, we have another picture of this resurrection given in the Torah, and it's a picture of the Messiah, the one who was going to do that. And we know he conquered death and hell and the principalities and powers, all this. He made a show of them openly, right? He triumphed over them. And we also see a picture of this in Job 19:25-26, where it says, "I know my Redeemer lives, and that he shall stand, rise in the last day, upon the earth, upon the dust and the clay. And although after my skin worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh I shall see God." See that? After I am dead, after I'm destroyed, I know that my Redeemer lives, and he will restore me back to life. In my flesh I will see God. Though I died, he's going to restore me and resurrect me, and I will see him. Wow. Exciting things, right? Okay. Enough of that side chain. Let's go back into Tetzaveh. We're talking about this light and this light that is to dwell within us. The light is the Messiah, and how we live in that and how we provide the oil. Matthew 4:16 says, "The people sitting in darkness have seen a great light, and those sitting in the region and shadow of death, on them a light has dawned." Again, speaking of Yeshua, and he is that light. Psalm 36:10 says, "For you is the fountain of life. In your light we see light." Interesting phrasing, right? What does it mean, in your light we see light? Isn't that kind of redundant? Of course you see light. There's his light. You see light. But there's some stuff to be said about that. This verse was understood as, who is the light for the community of Israel? Who is the light for the people of Yahweh? It is the light of the Messiah. And the purpose of that light was to draw all nations to him. Psalm 132:17. "There will I make a horn spring up for David. I have set up a lamp for my anointed." I have set up a lamp for my anointed. Again, these are all pictures and symbols that relate to the Messiah, and we know Yeshua is the Messiah. Further, according to traditional literature as well, we have this: when the king, the Messiah, reveals himself, and he comes and he stands on the roof of the sanctuary, so he will speak to the Israelites and say, "You poor individuals, the time of your redemption has come." See that? The Messiah and the redemption. "If you do not believe, see my light that rises upon you," according to Isaiah 60:1, "Arise and shine, for your light is coming, and the glory of Yahweh is shining upon you." Then they will all come to the light of the Messiah and Israel. This light that is rising and shining, the light has come. What that light is, the Messiah. That light is Yeshua. There's a lot to be said here, isn't there? A few things I want to bring it all back together with. Okay. 2 Corinthians 4, verse 6. For God who said, "Let light shine out of darkness," is the one who has shone in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Messiah. He is that light, and it is that light that shines in the darkness, and it is that light that shines in our hearts. Ephesians 5:8. Once you were darkness, but now in union with the Lord you are light. Walk as children of light. And in 1 John 1:7 says, if we walk in the light as he himself is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of his son Yeshua purifies us from all sin. If we walk in the light as he is in the light, or as he is light, then guess what? Then he purifies us. We don't do that. He does that. But yet we need to walk with him. So again, there's that daily process of following him, pursuing him, letting that light shine. And we do that by seeking him daily, surrendering ourselves daily, and coming back into the presence of the Father, acknowledging him in all of our ways. Let your light shine, guys. Do not hide that light. Let it be gathering whoever is seeking Yahweh, whoever may be in darkness that needs him. Let that light shine so that you can point the way to the one who redeems, heals, restores, and delivers. All right. Well, that's all I've got for you today, guys. I pray this has been encouraging. I pray this has been challenging. I pray this has been a blessing. And if it has, then please consider making a donation to help us keep these things moving out there. It does cost us to continue these videos and help them to be made, as well as if this has blessed you, please share it in whatever avenue you listen or hear, watch, whatever. If it's been a blessing to you, maybe it's a blessing to somebody else. Share it and hopefully get some encouragement to someone else as well, okay? So until next time, be blessed, be a blessing, and shalom.